What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, for Top 5 Tuesday, we are doing more of a fun one, talking about the top 5 canonically strongest humans in the world of Epic 7. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, link down in the description. If you disagree with any of the units that you see on this list, or agree, make sure to go down and leave a comment saying why you don't agree with a certain one, or if you think someone else should have made it over the list over some of the other characters that I discussed. So without further ado, let's get into the video. But first, we do have to talk about some ground rules for how I made this list and some of the things I included. So the first thing is that it's only primarily going to be humans. So that's people like Craw, people like Vildred, right? Normal humans. I'm not including things like demi humans, such as Luna, who's technically a dragon, or things like Alencia, who are humanoid. I'm also not including Suins, such as Kartuha or Basar, who are technically considered Suin, right? They're not really humans. We're strictly discussing humans, right? Whether they got their power from other means, they will still be considered humans in terms of this list. So without further ado, let's get to the honorable mentions. You guys start seeing some of the ideas that were coming into this. So one of the honorable mentions I did want to point out, which he honestly could go higher as we learn more, is going to be Remnant Violet. So we only got to see him a little bit in the side story of the Moonlight Theater, where he essentially took down a bunch of elite soldiers when he was going to meet Lilius, right? So he is a very powerful swordsman. He's considered to be one of the strongest persons in Sidonia, essentially, right? Second most powerful person in Perlin, has a ton of resources. So not only is he a master swordsman, extremely powerful, able to easily take out opponents, he also has a lot of influence, right? So a very, very powerful individual, has war experience, very, very strong, right? The only reason he's an honorable mention, I can't rank him over other units on this list, is primarily due to the fact that we don't have that much information from him, right? We haven't seen him fight other heroes in the storyline. We've only really seen him in kind of a vacuum setting, right? So we don't actually know how he would fare against a lot of these other heroes in this list. Another honorable mention that I wanted to discuss, who was very, very close to actually making it into the list, but we'll see with the number one, and you'll see sooner too why he didn't quite make it. But Cess. So if you didn't know about anything about Cess, he essentially was someone who was experimented a lot. For a lot of homunculus experiments, but he is actually a human, right? But he was given powers by the Archdemon to essentially escape the experiments, and he became essentially a mass murderer, right? Every time he felt his life was threatened, he would go into a beast mode and just destroy everything, right? Just kill everyone around him, and he had the power to actually carry it out. Was very, very dangerous, very, very powerful. When he gets scared, it's just like, you better watch out, because Cess is gonna come in and just beat you up, right? And he does have some of the Acolyte's power that was able to release him, as you see with the Black Hand, right? He uses some form of dark magic, right? Not quite direct of what it is, but he is a very dangerous individual. The reason he doesn't rank higher on this list is you'll see when we get to number 5. So with that, kind of starting to see what we're talking about, primarily humans that are enhanced. We did the top 5 non-humans, just overall, just heroes overall, and we saw some pretty crazy ones, and with Ross and with like literally world enders. So this should be a little bit more tame, right? These should be a little bit more tame overall. So at number 5, we have none other than Bellona. If Cess is a monster, then what does that make Bellona? She's able to take out Cess on a one-on-one, which is one of the reasons why Cess didn't actually make it to the top 5. Even though she's a normal noblesse that lived her whole life essentially in a cage, and a kind of like she compares herself to a bird just living in a cage, looks pretty. She always wanted that freedom, like a bird wants freedom from the cage. So she always did want that freedom, and now that she got it with Phantom CIC, she's easily able to take out super strong opponents, even though she doesn't really have that same fighting experience that some of the other heroes higher up on this list that we'll discuss, right? But she's able to easily take out a mass murderer on her own, right? Pretty easily. She's extremely powerful. She fights really weird monsters all the time. When she goes with Phantom CIC and they find the unknowns, those are very strong creatures that normal people actually do struggle taking out, and she does it like it's light work for her. She just blows her wind magic and just kind of blows them away, right? Very, very powerful person. Honestly, really curious how strong she can actually be. She's never been in a situation where she goes full out. So I am curious how much stronger she can even get if she's already able to take out someone like Cess. So we have Bellona at the number 5. Now, on to number 4, we have our first Guardian, who is going to be Crow. Now, Crow, for this list, we are not including that he has access to his Guardian, right? Or if you had access to your Guardian, Yuna would be absolutely insane, right? So it's just him on his own. But him on his own, he's still a very powerful knight. He fought in the front lines of the Archdemon War and was able to easily hold himself against a lot of the acolytes. He was single-handedly able to leave the kingdom of Terranor on his own, just burst out of jail essentially, stormed out, and just took out everyone and met Ross, right? Very, very powerful, able to take out legions of the Archdemon army. Very well skilled, has a ton of war experience. That's something that we didn't discuss with Bellona, but he actually has fought other humans on a one-on-one. He probably would be able to manage Bellona quite easily, as we saw when Assassin Sid fought Bellona. Assassin Sid had other assassins helping him, and he was able to lock down Bellona and Cess because of that fighting experience, right? So Crow having the fighting experience as well as the strength, and it makes him an extremely, extremely powerful person. Canonically, this dude is honestly like 40, right? He looks very young, and that's because he is heir, right? But he's actually 40 to 50. He has his fair share of experiences fighting in wars, knowing how to fight, right? He's a very strong individual and a very, very cool guy, right? So very, 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 very good dude, right? Number 4. Now we are getting to the top 3. In terms of humans, these are people you do not want to mess with. These are individuals that if you try to fight, you're going to get destroyed, right? You're probably going to lose, and you're going to be like, what the heck? How did I lose to this guy? But at number 3, we have none other than Charles. He may be getting old in age, potentially even in his 80s, but this dude still smacks. So spoiler warning, if you haven't gotten that far in season 2 of the storyline, he takes out Lilius on a one-on-one, right? Easily takes out one of the strongest people in Perlin, who was Lilius, right? We know Lilius was one of the best fighters. She was easily able to beat Violet, and the only way they were able to take her out was Pavel and Violet fighting together to take out Lilius. And he's easily able to take down Lilius, has a ton of fighting experience. This dude is known as just destroying armies and just being super smart dude, that he's just always able to win in wars because he's just so fast and strong, and just has a lot of other stuff, right? And honestly, this dude just is insane, right? Able to single-handedly take down Lilius, fought legions of the Archdemon as well, was in the front lines with Diane, has seen way more wars than any other of the heroes on this list, probably has the most fighting and combat experience of any character in this list. But again, we'll see with the top 2. The only reason that's holding him back is that he doesn't have any magical powers really protecting him. He is the peak human, right? With no help, just a normal human, he's probably the strongest base human, right? Not including powers that come from other sources, he would be the strongest human. But because humans can actually get some pretty insane powers, he is not number 1. At the number 2, and this one, number 2 and number 1 are very, very close, but the reason why it's switched, it'll be something with the matchups. But number 2, we have Arbiter Vildred. Now, don't just think I'm putting him here because he got the power from the Archdemon, right? That is not the only reason he was here. Even without the Archdemon's power, Vildred was still a renowned knight in the kingdom of Ezra. He could still hold his own against legions of the Archdemon. He was able to fight in that war and be an extremely powerful ally to the kingdom of Ezra. He was easily able to take out a bunch of the enemies and could fight even acolytes, right? He was able to fight some acolytes. Even though he did lose to Kairon, he was still able to hold himself and be with Ross for a majority of the wars that happened in all the other worlds. So he definitely was strong before he got the Archdemon's power. Now you add on the fact that he has the power of the Archdemon, he becomes a monster. We didn't actually see him fighting any other humans, which is one of the reasons he's not number 1 on this list. We primarily saw him fighting Ross and holding himself against the heir of the Covenant. Granted, at the time, Ross was not at full power, so you do have to remember that. He didn't have the same power that Ross has now, right? Like Ross is super strong now, so we don't know the peak of Arbiter Vildred's power. We never really did see him fighting other things, but he was able to kill a Guardian. Granted, the Guardian did not have his heir, and usually Guardians without their heirs are not nearly as strong, but he's able to take out a Guardian, which is a feat on its own because these are literally creatures created by the goddesses, right? So very, very powerful, super strong, having the Archdemon's Might. Would not want to fight, right? But who could be at the number 1, right? Who did I put here at the number 1 spot? Well, we have none other than Cowric. And there's going to be a lot of spoilers for this one, but Cowric is just something else, right? I am going to be taking him at his peak, right? Before the storyline ended, and spoiler, before he died, he was having a lot of health issues. But when he was at his peak during the Archdemon War, he was a menace. His squad of enhanced mages had essentially 0 casualties on the team, even though they were a small group of mages, because of how powerful they were. That's how strong the enhanced mages were, and Cowric with the Black Hand of the Goddess could destroy the Archdemon's army like it was nothing. They were critical in taking down the Archdemon and were just extremely, extremely powerful at the cost of their lives, essentially. Cowric also, even when he was in his kind of hurt stage, he could 1v1 Ross like it was nothing, right? He could easily take out Ross. He wiped out the strongest sorcerers in Witch Haven by himself, single-handedly, right? Just on his own, took out a bunch of enhanced mages like it was nothing, right? He just came in, and all those summoners, like high-end summoners who are basically as strong as Vivian, he came in, just boom, destroy them all. And that was when he was not at his peak. That was when he had the side effects of the Black Hand of the Goddess, of everything just taking a toll on him, right? So imagine how he was at his peak. Just imagine the amount of power. I'm pretty sure he could fight an Acolyte single-handedly. I am pretty sure he could beat Arbiter Vildred in a one-on-one scenario. I feel so, right? He was insanely strong. He never lost a fight. He was always easily able to solo things. Could kill almost any of the like lackeys of the Archdemon pretty easily, right? And his squadron could just do a bunch of work. Just an insane, powerful mage that at his prime, single-handedly, is gonna be the strongest human in the world of Epic 7. Just, man, I don't know what that experiment did to him, but that's some crazy stuff, right? Crazy, crazy stuff. And he does have a lot of experience as an assassin, so he definitely also fills in that experience category that we were discussing. So overall, that's gonna be it for the top 5 strongest humans. If you were just taking non like heavenly powers away, if you just wanted like a base human list, Charles would most likely have been number 1, and those other honorable mentions would have made it to the list. But because Arbiter Vildred as well as Cowric are still technically considered human, even though they have powers from other sources, they are the number 2. But that is all I got for you guys today, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.